Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty interesting, Donald Trump's proposal for a Bitcoin strategic reserve.
Right, and at the same time, this talk of a really significant tariff on Chinese goods, like 145%.
Exactly. And you, our listener, want the quick, insightful breakdown of what this might all mean. So let's jump right in.
Okay, so we've got these two quite distinct policy ideas hitting the news cycle basically together. And, well, it's definitely stirred the pot a bit.
It has. It's about trying to understand the potential shifts here, isn't it? Beyond just the headlines.
Precisely.
So, okay, this Bitcoin strategic reserve, what exactly are we talking about here? From what we gather, the idea is for the U.S. to actually hold Bitcoin,
Yeah, hold it as a strategic asset, much like, how it holds gold reserves currently.
which is kind of a big deal for a decentralized digital currency, right? It immediately raises questions.
Oh, absolutely. Huge questions. I mean, how would a nation treat it? And think about the signal this could send globally.
You mean, like, could this push crypto more mainstream into national economic plans?
Potentially, yes. It certainly forces a conversation, doesn't it, about regulation, security, what role digital assets play in, well, future financial systems.
Okay. And then, almost in the same breath, we hear about this 145% tariff on Chinese goods. That's, wow.
It's not a minor tweak, is it? 145%. That points towards a potentially massive shift in trade relations.
A seismic shift, really.
Exactly. A tariff that steep, it's more than just a barrier. It suggests, maybe a whole restructuring of global supply chains.
Which would mean huge cost implications across industries, for consumers, pretty much everywhere.
No doubt about it.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting connecting the dots. The sources we looked at mentioned these two announcements happened around the same time Bitcoin saw some movement.
Right. There was that brief dip. It went below $81,500 for a bit.
So why would the market link those two things? A Bitcoin reserve plan and a China tariff?
Well, immediate market reactions, especially with something as volatile as Bitcoin, often reflect uncertainty. Big potential policy changes create that.
So a potential shift in U.S. monetary strategy and a major trade disruption hitting at once.
Yeah, both could easily feed into that uncertainty, make the market reassess risk.
But interestingly, Bitcoin didn't stay down, did it? It bounced back pretty fast, back up to around $84,000.
It did, relatively quickly, too.
What does that tell us, that quick recovery?
Well, I think it highlights the underlying sentiment, maybe, or the continued belief, perhaps, in Bitcoin's value proposition among holders. Policy news causes ripples, sure.
But the fundamentals maybe reassert themselves.
Something like that, or at least the existing market dynamics kick back in.
So we've got this kind of 1-2 punch. The U.S. possibly embracing a digital asset nationally while also proposing this huge trade barrier. It really feels like the market perceived them as interconnected signals.
I think that's fair to say. Whether they were directly linked in policy terms or just happened together, the market's reaction really underscores how interconnected things are becoming.
You mean like geopolitical moves and trade talk can directly hit crypto prices?
And maybe vice versa down the line. It shows these different economic spheres, traditional trade, emerging assets, they're bumping up against each other more and more.
Okay. So for our listeners trying to make sense of this, the big takeaway seems to be just how sensitive the crypto market is. Sensitive to these big political and economic announcements.
Absolutely. It's dynamic. These events really show the power of, well, even just proposed policies to create immediate market ripples.
It puts a spotlight on this whole intersection, right?
Right.
Crypto regulation and international trade.
Definitely an area to watch closely going forward. It's becoming increasingly important on a global scale.
Okay, so just to quickly recap, we've touched on Trump's idea for a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve, that huge 145% proposed tariff on Chinese goods, and how Bitcoin's price reacted, that volatility.
Yeah, the dip in the recovery. And maybe a final thought to leave listeners with is this. Start thinking about how non-traditional assets, like Bitcoin, might get woven more deeply into national strategies.
You mean beyond just investment, into
Right.
actual economic and strategic policy?
Exactly. Especially, considering how global trade itself is constantly shifting. How do these new assets fit into that picture? It's definitely a fascinating space to keep an eye on.